Hi everyone, wishing you all a Shabbat Shalom Umvorach. You know, there's a word that became very popular in the last couple of years, especially in sports. And that word is GOAT. G-O-A-T. GOAT is actually an acronym. It's Rashi Tevot. It stands for Greatest of All Time. The greatest of all time. And everybody wants to know who's the GOAT in sports, in football, in basketball, in baseball. Who's the GOAT? Who is the greatest of all time? And sometimes as Jews we wonder, who is the GOAT? Who is the GOAT in Judaism? And if we had to make a list, I think everybody would have on the top of the list somewhere the name Moshe Rabbeinu. Rightfully so. The Torah itself says that Moshe was the greatest Navi and never was or will there be a Navi on his caliber. And if that's the case, we have a very strong question in our parasha. We read throughout our parasha the dynamic duo, Moshe and Aharon, coming to Paro with the 7 plagues in this week's parasha, Parashat Va'era, and 3 plagues in next week's parasha, Parashat Bo. And sometimes Rashi notices that Moshe's name is before Aharon's, and sometimes Aharon's is before Moshe. And Rashi explains to teach you, Shekulin Hayu. They were equal. Sometimes Moshe is first, sometimes Aharon is first, because it doesn't matter. They were equal. And we read that and we say, how could it be? How could they be equal? The Torah itself says, Moshe was the greatest prophet that ever existed. So I'd like to speak about success. You know, in the world that we live in, success is measured by results. Success is result-based. Did you succeed in business? Well, did you make the deal? Did you make the sale? Are you successful in school? Let me see your report card. The most successful team is the team that has the most points at the end of the game. That is how success is measured in the world that we live in. That is not how success is measured by God. In the spiritual realm, success has nothing to do with results and has everything to do with efforts. Because results is up to God. He decides the results. The only thing that we can do is try. And it is our efforts, it's how much we try, how hard we try, that defines whether or not we are successful. You know, sometimes we look around us and we see people that perform sometimes better, sometimes worse. And so we see people that perform worse than us and we get excited. We feel great about ourselves. We see people that perform better than us and we get discouraged. And neither is true. Our success should be based on one thing and one thing only. How did we perform based on our capabilities? And if we put in the best effort, if we tried our hardest, then we are successful, regardless of results. Going back to Moshe and Aharon. Moshe was amazing. He was the best. Aharon was great. Was he as strong a Navi as Moshe? Definitely not. But God says it doesn't matter. Moshe was better, was greater, because he did more because he was given more. Aharon did the best that he could with what he was given, with the tools that he had. And therefore says God, in my eyes, Shekulin Hayu. They're equal. They're equal because they both put in 100% effort. There was a great rabbi, Rav Zusha of Anapoli. He was on his deathbed and his students saw him crying. They said, Rabbi, you're crying? You're one of the greatest rabbis that ever walked the planet. Why are you crying? What are you worried about? And Rav Zusha responded, you know, I'm not worried that when I get to Shamayim, they're going to say, Zusha, tell me, why weren't you as kind as Avraham Avinu? I'll simply say, God, I wasn't given Abraham's heart. I'm not worried they're going to say to me, Zusha, why didn't you have the questions of Rav Akiva Eger? I say, God, I didn't have his brain. You know what I'm most worried about? I'm worried they're going to say to me, Zusha, why weren't you Zusha? Because for that, I don't have an answer. We have to remember that in life, it's not about being the GOAT. It's about being our GOAT. Shabbat Shalom.